Knoydart is often referred to as Scotland's last great wilderness, but people do live here. In fact, it's a thriving community. Welcome to the West Highland village of Inverie. The village of Inverie gives us an insight into coastal highland life before the advent of the motor car. In other words, it's easily accessible by sea, but reaching the outside world over land requires a long trek over the unforgiving mountains of the Knoydart peninsula. Unless you fancy the difficult 15-kilometre hike, to reach Inverie you need to board the small Western Isles passenger ferry at the fishing port of Mallaig. The voyage around the headland and into Loch Nevis takes between 30 and 45 minutes. Mallaig itself was linked to the rest of the world by both road and rail in the early 20th century. By contrast, the UK highway network has never reached Inverie. The roads out from the village lead a few kilometres into the wilderness and then stop. There may be little traffic on the roads, but since a community buyout in 1999, Knoydart has been far from quiet.
So Knoydart Forest Trust looks after the woodlands on behalf of the Knoydart Foundation. So the Knoydart Foundation is the community landowner, but we look after the woodlands through a management agreement. So we look after the existing woodland, which involves restructuring the Inverie Woods, which is behind us, and that's part of that operation is doing harvesting operations every 4 or 5 years. So we're taking out the monoculture of Sitka and restructuring it with mixed woodland to make it more diverse. The woodland area has almost doubled since the time of the buyout, because as well as looking after the existing woodlands, we're creating new woodlands. So the woodland area at the moment is about 1,200 hectares, and we've created about 6 or 8 new woodlands, actually probably more than that. So for the first time ever we've been able to plant a new woodland which isn't enclosed in its own fence. So that's really exciting, because it means this whole chunk of land is going to have the opportunity to regenerate. The kind of cascade of benefits that's going to come from that is really exciting.
Tell me about the positive changes since the community buyout.
I think the major achievements are just the number of business enterprises that have developed in that time.
And the population?
It's pretty much doubled as well. So there was about 60 at the time of buyout, and now we're up to at least 120.
And what would you say are the biggest challenges for Inverie and Knoydart moving forward?
The biggest challenge is how to do more of what we do, and that the biggest challenge will be, and always has been, affordable housing. Yeah, we need more people to do more of what we do, but we don't have the houses to put them up in.
At the end of the 18th century, around 1,000 people lived on Knoydart. Most of that population was evicted by the landowner Josephine MacDonald. Further evictions continue to terrorise the remaining tenants. The cairn in the centre of Inverie commemorates the 7 men of Knoydart who made a famous land raid in 1948. And sadly, they lost their case against the establishment, but the cause itself was eventually won by the community buyout. A victory that can be celebrated in Inverie's famous pub, the Forge, the most remote in mainland Britain and now also community owned. Unfortunately, I have to take a ferry back to the mainland just as the pub is opening. But don't worry, there are plenty of films about the Old Forge on YouTube, but better still, get here yourself and sample that community spirit. The pub may be shut, but I'm not going to miss out on my morning coffee. Sun over Loch Nevis, a home-baked scone, and coffee that's roasted just over the hill behind me. I think I found heaven in Inverie. It's 10 AM, so that means Inverie's one and only shop is open. Tara, I walked into the shop and was astounded by the amount of creativity here on Knoydart.
There are so many artists, yeah, absolutely. I think probably the percentage of artists to, you know, all the people here, it must be. Every other person does something.
What are the main challenges of running a remote community shop?
Well, I guess deliveries. You can't get one every day. So we get one on Spanish John every Friday. Today we'll be getting one off of the Western Isles. That will be bread, milk, fresh veg. So Tuesday, Thursdays that, and then Fridays. So if you're running out of something, you have to really plan ahead and have to try and guess what's next week gonna look like, because we're not ordering, you know, day to day. It's a week in advance pretty much. I mean, I've never run a shop anywhere else, so I don't know honestly what it's like. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I guess we have the monopoly on shops on Knoydart, so maybe it's actually easier in that sense.
Yes, Tesco isn't going to open up next door, is it?
So I guess that's quite good, you know. Yeah, I'm very lucky to have ended up here.
It's a common misconception that young people growing up in Scotland's remote communities want to leave as soon as they can. Here's Kira to explain that that is not always the case.
Recently there's been a lot more going on in Knoydart since the community bought the peninsula. You know, people are needed all the time to get involved with all the different things which are going on. I work in the pub part-time, so for me going to the pub is for work.
What would you miss from here if you did have to go away?
The community and so what do I mean by that? I mean by you know what's going on, you know where you are, and everyone sort of asks how you're doing and you know where you stand. I love living here.